What's up, everybody? Eric here from That's Wrestling. Thanks for tuning in today. If you would like to send me an email, you can shoot me an email, eric@thatswrestling.com. You can also find me over on Twitter. That's Wrestling1 with the number 1. Also, I am looking for co-hosts for this show, so if you are interested on being either a AEW co-host or a New Japan co-host, or both, or once in a while, shoot me an email, eric@thatswrestling.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can check this out in podcast form on all your favorite podcast apps. If you can't find it on your favorite podcast app, shoot me an email so I know which app needs to be submitted to. If you're listening to this as a podcast and you would like to watch it on YouTube, you can do that. You can find the channel That's Wrestling. Also, the link is in the show notes as well. So today I am going to be talking about AEW Dynamite for November 13th of 2019, and all I have to say is improvement. Over the past few weeks since Dynamite started, about 6 weeks ago now, this is episode 7, I believe, there has been a gradual increase of improvements and taking criticism and addressing those criticisms, so it's nice to see that they have been fixing a lot of this stuff. There's still a little bit to go, but I think strong improvements have been made over the past 6 weeks, and this week was no exception. They continue to improve, and I am happy to hear it. Even the ratings kind of reflect it at this point. Whereas every WWE show went down this week compared to last week, AEW went up quite a lot. They went up about 150,000 viewers this week, so that is a good sign, hopefully, and hopefully that continues going into the following week. Of course, this was off of a pay-per-view, so that might have played a little bit into it on increasing those views, but we will see this coming week. The show opened up. They did what they were supposed to do. They did a video recap of Full Gear. Something that was left off was the Omega and Moxley match, because it was an unsanctioned match, so it was technically not on the card, so they did not have it in the recap here, though they did recap it after this. They showed Kenny Omega seeing the doctor. He was all cut up. He had a huge black eye, and they had video clips from the unsanctioned match at Full Gear a few days prior. And then the doctor says that he is not cleared, so he asked how'd Moxley do, and the doctor says he's beat up, but he is clear to wrestle. There was a nice little remark in there by Omega when he was being asked how's he feeling. He says he's all right. He just says that the shower stings a little bit, which if anybody's had like serious cuts or anything and they still haven't healed, or showers can hurt quite a lot. And so right as he was leaving, it shows Michael Nakazawa was hanging out with him. They are friends and whatnot. So it cuts to the first match of the evening. But actually, I forgot to even mention, prior to the Omega video right there, they had the announcers run down the show, what it was going to be. They went through all the matches that were going to be on the card, and wow, what a novel concept to actually tell the audience what's going to be coming up, because, like any other sporting event, it's scheduled and they know what is going to be coming up on the show. They are not booking this on the fly. They didn't come into this with no main event in mind. They came in just like any other, sporting event, especially in the fight game. So boxing or UFC or MMA, they all have the card laid out well ahead of time. So it really makes sense that, the announcers should know and the production knows what's coming up and in what order, and all the matches that are going to be on the card that night, because that's how everybody else does it. And that's how sport works. So if we are supposedly simulating a sport environment, this is one of the things that shouldn't be overlooked. So we have the first match of the evening is going to be Jon Moxley versus Michael Nakazawa. Right away, Michael Nakazawa throws the baby oil away. So it's nice to see we're not going to be having a joke match with Moxley. He is taking Moxley seriously. But, of course, this match is pretty much a squash. Moxley finishes up in under a minute, quickly hits the paradigm shift for the win, and then Moxley grabs the mic. In short, he delivers a promo saying that he made good on his promises, that what he was going to do at Full Gear is what he ended up doing. He says he's the toughest son of a bitch in AEW, and he doesn't think that anyone in AEW has the balls to face him again, and he's going to scorch the earth of AEW, doesn't care how long it takes, and until he is the last man standing. He basically issues an open challenge to everybody for them to see how they stack up in the landscape of AEW. And you think somebody is going to come out, but, we've been conditioned to that happening. And in this case, nobody comes out. So he leaves. But this will come into play later. But great promo, short and sweet, to the point, got out what he needed to do. Good on them. So this is actually going to be a bit of a running theme throughout this night, that we are going to get a little bit more talking, which is good because that has been a huge thing. We have very little character development of pretty much everybody. I don't know if that was just because they really needed to get to Full Gear because they only had 6 weeks to build it, though they could have done a slightly better job. But it is what it is. Now, I don't know when the next pay-per-view is going to be. I'm assuming it's probably going to be February-ish if they're going to go quarterly. And we're sitting this pay-per-view was in the middle of the second month of the quarter. I assume that it's, again, going to be second month of the quarter. Same with, since they did Double or Nothing in May, second month of the quarter. All Out is in August, second month of the quarter. So I'm assuming February is going to be the next pay-per-view, but they have not announced it as of today, I believe, though I have not been watching Twitter or anything in the past 24 hours, so I'm not sure. Then next up, we have Marko, Stunt, and Jungle Boy versus the Dark Order. It's nice to see the Dark Order with a little bit different getup, with Evil Uno actually wearing a top. Makes him look a little bit less perverty, I guess. Is the best way I can put it. He looks a lot better. You kind of can ignore his physique since it's covered up. They mentioned that Stu Grayson is now just Grayson for whatever reason. They mentioned that he's mad about losing his first name. I'm not sure if that was because of some copyright issue or if this is going to play in later. I will mention it later at the end of this thing. As a possibility after this is over. So anyways, Marko bumps around like usual. He can just bump around for like everybody. There was a cool spot where Marko used Jungle Boy as a launch pad to do like a cannonball senton when I believe it was Evil Uno was tied up in the second rope. It's sort of like how he would be hung up for if somebody was going to hit a 619. He was just kind of draped over that middle rope. Evil Uno actually does a senton off the top rope onto Marko. Luckily, Marko did adjust a little bit, but I think he actually adjusted a little bit too much. They probably should have used a slightly different camera angle as well because there was a bit of space between where Evil Uno landed versus where Marko was, though I'm not going to fault him for that because Uno is a big guy, and if he landed his body on Marko, he would have squished him like a bug. So in this case, the senton, basically only the top of Evil Uno's head actually touched Marko. So it's good that he didn't land his full body weight on it, but the camera angle did show a lot of space in there. Commentary actually says that they're going to be at future places. So they actually go through selling some tickets, promoting where they're going to be next. Go figure. I didn't There wasn't a screen graphic at the bottom, though, listing each of the places that they were going. Though I was watching the fight feed, so I'm not sure if they would have just left that off the fight feed because that's outside of the United States and all the things were inside the United States. But if they didn't show it on TNT as well, they should have had a lower third graphic listing all the places and dates where they were going. That'd make way more sense than just, announcing it through the match. But at least they did, mention where they're going next. Go figure. They build the heat through the commercial break, just working over Marko throughout the commercial break. Uno picks up Marko for a slam, but then Marko reverses it into a flatliner, and that's when he finally gets the tag to Jungle Boy after the commercial was over. Later on, Marko hits an assisted Dragon Rana, which was really cool, but he's pinning Grayson, and Jungle Boy tries to intercept Evil Uno, but Uno basically just throws Jungle Boy and he crashes into Marko Stunt and Grayson, who is being pinned. And then Jungle Boy goes for a dive to the outside when both of the Dark Order on the outside, but they end up basically blocking it, and then they both hit jumping knees, taking him out of the match. They get back into the ring, hit fatality on Marko, and pick up the win there. After the match was over, hey, we have another victor grabbing the mic so they can say something. In this case, it was Evil Uno, though the voice doesn't match the character, which was a little funny. I hadn't heard him talk before, so the voice just doesn't match. But what are you gonna do? People's voices are people's voices. He wants Marko to join the Dark Order. He offers Marko a mask, and it looks like Marko is extending his arm to take it, but Jungle Boy runs in and basically hits Marko's hand away and hands him the Luchasaurus mask that Marko had worn down to the ring. And then Uno says, "Have it your way." And then he says, "Put him down, boys." And then the Creepers start beating down Jungle Boy and Marko. They probably should have gotten some better workers for the Creepers if they're going to have them beat down, because this looked just goofy. Some of these strikes were so bad. They might want to get slightly better workers if they're going to have the Creepers actually doing wrestling moves. And then so they're beating down Jungle Boy and Marko, and Uno goes to try to put the Creeper mask onto Jungle Boy. Everybody's chanting for Luchasaurus, and then the music hits and Luchasaurus comes down way earlier than expected to being back, though he did take it relatively easy. He didn't do any running or anything like that, since it is a hamstring injury. So he's probably going to at least take it light. I doubt he's going to be doing much wrestling over the next month and a half, going into January. January was his original return, estimated return for this injury, because it wasn't a full tear, didn't need surgery or anything, but he's probably still got to go take it pretty easy. He starts coming down to the ring. He destroys all the Creepers. The first Creeper that got up to him at the top of the ramp, he basically did a boot to the face and then just followed him down and stomped on his chest onto the ring. It was one of the most brutal boot stomps I've ever seen, especially because it was on the ramp. He takes out a bunch of Creepers that come after, and he gets into the ring and he does a spinning roundhouse kick, taking out 3 Creepers at once. And then the thing that caught me the most was Evil Uno and Grayson are in the ring. Grayson is standing in front of Uno, and Uno pushes Grayson towards Luchasaurus while Uno gets out of the ring. So, is this that Evil Uno is actually the leader of this culty type thing, and Grayson is just a pawn of some kind, because he'd basically just sacrificed Grayson to Luchasaurus and Evil Uno got the hell out of there. So going back to what I was saying earlier about Grayson losing his first name, is this storyline because Evil Uno is actually in control of everything and he wanted to get rid of first name, and it wasn't actually like a copyright issue or any type of licensing issue or anything like that. So maybe we will be getting finally a little bit more backstory on what the hell is going on here. Though it does seem we have, just with this little action, we know that it looks like Evil Uno is actually in charge. Anyway, Grayson gets destroyed by Luchasaurus. He gives him a choke slam, then hits a standing moonsault, and then the entire Jurassic Express hug in the middle of the ring. And then Luchasaurus grabs the Luchasaurus mask that Marko Stunt had been wearing and handed it to Marko Stunt, kind of giving his blessing to wearing that mask. Like Marko Stunt looked back at him and was like, "Really? I can wear this, it's cool." And so he put it on and everybody looked happy. This is, of course, this team is got a lot of potential, not only as a team, but as singles. Maybe they just keep it as like a faction, even if they don't always tag together and they go off for singles, but they still are friends. They're always together, and they're just like a tiny little faction, because obviously Luchasaurus is amazing. He's a big guy that can do a lot of kind of high flying and all types of moves that are usually left up for the smaller guys. And with Jungle Boy only being like 22 years old, I mean, he could still grow a little bit more. And if he's not actually that small, he looks smaller, considering that he just doesn't have a lot of meat on his frame comparatively. But if he bulked up a little bit more, I mean, he could be legit heavyweight area. And, you know, being only 22, he definitely has a bunch of years ahead of him going into like the peak of his body prime, you know, still years away. So, you know, if he bulks up, I mean, he could be a player in the heavyweight division. I'm guessing eventually he'll probably lose the name Jungle Boy and probably just go by his real name, Jack Perry, because you can only go so far being called Jungle Boy. I don't see that being somebody who's going to be getting the AEW championship, but Jack Perry in 5 years from now, I could see him on top of AEW possibly. If he keeps up, because he's actually really good, though he hasn't talked much. I have seen him in interviews though, and he seems really comfortable. And you know, the pedigree behind him definitely makes him good for show business. So we will see. I think he's definitely going to be somebody to look at for the next long time, hopefully. Then we had Darby Allin versus Peter Avalone versus Shawn Spears. So we have a three-way match here. Of course, because it is a three-way, there are no disqualifications. Never understood that rule, but they did mention it on commentary. I don't know why you can't get disqualified in a three-way. Because if somebody brings a chair in, so are all three-ways technically could be hardcore matches. Anybody could bring a chair in. That really makes no sense, because that's a blatant disqualification, and you know who the perpetrator is, so you can disqualify that person. Though, of course, then you have the other two people. What do you do? Really, I don't like, you know, the triple threat where first pin wins it. It should really, I rather them do an elimination. So somebody could get disqualified and tossed from the match, and then it goes to a one-on-one match, and they finish it up that way. That'd make way more sense. But you know, triple threats are what they are. But I much rather have a triple elimination match versus a triple threat fatal 4-way or fatal 5-way or whatever they want to call a 6-way. Anyways, so here we have Allin actually skateboards down to the ring, which was pretty funny. So after the bell rings, Spears and Allin are face to face in the middle of the ring. They're just gabbing at each other, and then you see Peter Avalone behind them going up to the top turnbuckle. He jumps off for a splash, Both Allin and Spears take one step back away from each other. Peter Avalone splats right between them on the mat. It was pretty funny. Very, very good spot. And then Allin pretty much ends up getting the better of Spears for a bit, sends him to the outside, and then Allin sends Avalone to the outside. Allin gets up onto the top turnbuckle. It looks like he's going to do a dive onto Avalone, but Spears comes up from behind him, pushes him off the top. He does this really wicked bump where he basically was, so the ring was essentially to his right. So he was looking across, so the post was to his left and the ring was to his right. And how he got pushed, he landed on the top rope that was going to be forward to the right of him and did this weird flip off of it. It looked like a really crazy bump, even though obviously he hit the ropes first and it wasn't super high after hitting the mat, but it looked really cool. Spears starts working Allin over in the ring, and then he goes back out to the outside while Peter Avalone is getting up. He gives him a sidewalk slam on the apron to kind of keep him out of the match. But once he does that, Joey Janela ends up appearing at the top of the stage. So Spears sees him and he starts making a beeline to Joey Janela. They meet on the ramp and start brawling. They brawl out into the crowd and brawl to the back. So basically now at this point it's just Darby Allin and Peter Avalone in the match. After a little bit, Allin ends up hitting the flip over stunner that he likes to hit, and then hit the coffin drop and pins Avalone for the win. After the match, third time in a row, he grabs the mic and says, "Jon Moxley, I accept," and then leaves. That's it. That's all he says. And then they announce that it is going to be Darby Allin versus Jon Moxley next week on Dynamite. This could be a bit of a brawl, and hopefully it's just going to stay a straight wrestling match because these two obviously are both nuts, and we'll see what happens. And then I tried to confer with somebody who watched on TNT. He said he didn't remember seeing this commercial, but on the Fight TV stream at least, they had at least a 1-minute commercial for AEW Dark, which was really good. So if you guys did see it on TNT, great. If you didn't, why not? This was a perfect commercial. It was really good. And then when the commercial was over, the commentators did comment a little bit more on AEW Dark. They should be promoting AEW Dark at least twice per episode of Dynamite, because the stuff that happens over there, one, they've had really good matches, except for last week, but most weeks they have really good matches. I know this coming week, this coming Tuesday is going to be a Young Bucks match on AEW Dark. So they need to promote AEW Dark on Dynamite every single week, and I don't know why they don't do it right before the main event. Say, hey, on Tuesday, turn into YouTube to see match blah, blah, blah. That's it. 20 seconds, you can get this out. It's not hard. It takes no time. It takes very little effort to, put 3 graphics up there and say, this match is happening, this match is happening, and this match is happening. Tune in on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern on YouTube. Simple. Things over there matter, and if they are going to develop storylines and builds solely on AEW Dark, they need to promote AEW Dark. The Janela Spears match was pretty much just promoted on AEW Dark. The Britt Baker B. Priestley match, there was an excellent promo from Britt Baker. It was like 2 minutes on AEW Dark before last week's Dynamite. That promo didn't even appear on Dynamite. So if people are only watching Dynamite, they would have never seen the Britt Baker promo that was on Dark. So why would anybody give a crap about the match on the pre-show? Because you haven't built it up. If AEW Dark is going to be important, promote AEW Dark on Dynamite when the most people are watching. Not everybody is following you on Twitter. Not everybody's following you on YouTube. Not everybody's following you on Instagram or anything else. They are watching Dynamite. You need to let them know that this thing exists. Stop putting it off. Stop assuming everybody knows everything and follows every piece of media you put out, because there are so many viewers that we know are not. You look at the Twitter numbers, you do not have 1 million plus followers on Twitter. You do not have 1 million plus followers on Facebook. You don't have 1 million plus subscribers to the YouTube channel. So if we already know just on TNT alone that 1 million people are watching Dynamite on TNT, and we know that less than that are subscribed to those 3 media outlets for you, that's 500,000 people that do not subscribe and are watching you Dynamite, and that's it. Got to promote this stuff. It is not that hard. Takes 30 seconds, twice a show. Then you're good. That's it. All right. And then we have Nyla Rose versus Dani Jordan. This was nothing special. It was a squash match, though for what little I saw for being a squash, Dani Jordan did a good job. So I don't know if we'll see her again. I looked her up, and she's been wrestling for a while. I haven't seen anything else from her, but we'll see. But yeah, I'd like to see more of her, I guess. After the match, they did a recap on Dustin Rhodes getting beat up by Jake Hager a couple weeks ago. He'll be back training in a few weeks from his broken arm. So I'm curious if he really did have a broken arm, not from the beating from Jake Hager, but he actually did have a broken arm before that, and this was how to write him off storyline from having that broken arm. Or if he had some little carpal tunnel surgery or something. I don't know. But anyways, he'll be out for a little bit. Then they announce that next week will be the Dynamite Dozen Battle Royale, and the winner will win an AEW Diamond Ring. But Excalibur said this like we're supposed to know what they're talking about. Like, we're supposed to know the significance of the ring. Did I miss an announcement? I don't think I did. I went through their website. I went through their Twitter feed. There's no announcement that makes light of what the point of this ring was. But Excalibur, like I said it like we were supposed to know the significance of this thing. So if he's going to say that, put out a frickin' press release on the point of this ring, or when Excalibur is talking about it, tell us what the significance of this thing is. It's what? I don't know. Does this guarantee somebody a title shot? Is it really just some cut rate prize? I don't know. I mean, it would make the most sense that this is some sort of, the possessor of it gets a title shot, with 1 week's notice or something. I don't know. I thought they were going to do some sort of secondary title. Is this kind of the secondary title? This ring, and it can change hands through defenses. I don't know. I was hoping that they were going to do a secondary championship. I would really like to see something like, I don't really care what it's called. It could be the Dream title after Dusty Rhodes. It could just be like a television title or something like that. I'd like to see a title that if you hold it for a certain amount of time, then you can turn it in to get a AEW World Championship shot. Something like that, that'd be good. Like, I never really understood the point of the Intercontinental title. If you just hold it forever, well, what's the significance? Because the world title is considered the title. And the Intercontinental Championship has always been seen as a secondary title. But it doesn't get you anything. People tend to see it as a stepping stone, but you have to lose the IC title. And then somehow that makes you ready for the heavyweight title. I never understood that. So wouldn't it make way more sense if you held a secondary title, an Intercontinental Championship, North American champion, U.S. champion, whatever, if you hold it for a certain amount of time, doesn't that show that you are at the top of your game and you have defended that title for however long length of time, 6 months or whatever? At that point, why can't you be like, all right, I have held this title for so long. I would like to challenge for the heavyweight championship or the world title or whatever you want to call it, as being like the top singles title. So I'm going to trade this in for my shot. And if I do not win the world title, then I have lost the title that I was just holding as well. Makes sense to me. It's something I believe kind of it was called the title of the gods, I believe, in Lucha Underground. I believe at some point Impact did something similar with the X Division title. I don't remember. I kind of stopped watching Impact around 2005, so that wasn't a thing back then. But I mean, that'd be good. Something you can trade in. So is this ring, getting back to the topic at hand, is this ring some sort of guaranteed title shot down the line? Is this kind of the secondary title? I mean, I'm cool with it if it is, that this ring represents this secondary title instead of like a championship belt or something. Or this is not a championship because this is a signifier to say, hey, you are the number one contender. You are at the top and you're next in line. Or, if you hold on to this for a certain amount of time, you get the next shot. Don't know. Hopefully, they will give us something on Dynamite coming up. But tell us what the point of this is. Don't just tell us that this is going to be a Dynamite Dozen Battle Royale next week for some diamond ring. Okay, that's nice. Who cares? Tell us why. Tell us why we should care about this ring. Hopefully it means something more than just being some trinket. All right. Anyways, onwards we go. Next up, we had Tony Schiavone is doing an interview with Allie at the bottom of the ramp. I don't think we have seen Allie on Dynamite at all. We have seen her on Dark a couple of times. I still don't know how I feel about Allie in general. Obviously, she's very pretty, but I haven't seen her work too much with with good workers, or who I would consider a good worker, or had enough ring time with other people. Like, I think the only one-on-one match I've seen her in was with Brandy, and obviously Brandy is not the greatest worker in the world. I didn't think Allie was horrible in that match, but I would like to see more of Allie, and hopefully she is a lot better than what she has come off on Dark. I don't think she's had great opponents on Dark, so we'll see. Anyways, Tony is interviewing Allie at the bottom of the ramp, just by the ring, and she just does the baby face thing, getting cheap heat for the local town, and then the lights cut out, and then at the top of the ramp stands Awesome Kong. Awesome Kong comes down. She beats up Allie. And just like they did to Bea Priestley on the pre-show before Full Gear, they cut off a lock of her hair, and Awesome Kong sniffs it and then puts it in her belt as a keepsake, and they walk off. So Brandy and Awesome Kong, this is still very interesting, though one thing I don't like about this is I don't want Brandy to become Stephanie McMahon. I don't want her to be the heel bad guy on TV and then be the super baby face in real life doing charity events and all that stuff. Then we still have the problem with her being Cody's wife, who he is the biggest baby face on the planet right now, it seems. So it's extremely problematic if she is going to be a heel while he is a ridiculously over baby face. And if she's going to be heel on TV, but in real life she's just going to be a sweetheart. It's such a huge disconnect, especially because she does so much media, and she, has her cooking show that she has been doing on AEW's channel. So we know that Brandy Rhodes is not a bad person, and she's not a bad guy in real life, and she's really sweet in real life. So I really don't want to see this, where she's going to be a heel on TV and not in real life, and we just have like the Stephanie McMahon problem, because she wants to do all this charity and everything, but she wants to play a bad guy on TV. And unfortunately, with wrestling, if you're going to have a persona that is basically you on TV and in real life, then it is a problem. Obviously, a lot of people, me included, but it is still a problem. I understand that what you see on TV is not the real person most of the time. But it has been an issue, and I think it's a little easier. So philosophy-wise, if a wrestler has a gimmick that they only show on TV, but they want some sort of presence on social media or something as themselves, I have no problem if they have, like, say, one Twitter account as the character on TV, and then has a second Twitter account as themselves. So, Brandy Rhodes can have Brandy Rhodes wrestler account, and then she can have a Brandy Reynolds account, and the Brandy Reynolds account, and she goes by Brandy Reynolds in real life, and Cody and Brandy Rhodes on TV. Then we can have this separation between the real person, being Brandy Reynolds in this case, versus the character that we see on TV, Brandy Rhodes. Just like any other actress or actor, where we understand that in real life that guy is Brad Pitt, but in this movie, he's Tyler Durden. So we understand that concept between actors themselves and then the character that they play on TV. Wrestlers carry it over into real life a little bit too much. And then we get these blurred lines when the same person is using the same character, but are completely separate depending on the medium that they're in. That is all. Anyways, after the commercial break, Chris Jericho comes down to the ring to do a promo. And he says that he has proved that he's the greatest of all time. He demands a thank you from all of the AEW roster and the office. And the crowd starts chanting, "Thank you, Jericho." And he says, "I don't need your thanks. You guys mean nothing," or something along those lines. He says, "Cody is nothing but an entitled millennial son of a bitch." And then the lights cut out, and then out comes MJF to Cody's entrance and entrance music. So he comes up out of the stage. Cody's music is playing. He comes down. Everybody's booing. He's got super heat at this point. He gets into the ring and says that he would like a little bit of time to address something before he addresses Jericho. Jericho yields the floor to him. MJF says that if he didn't throw in the towel, Cody's career would be over. He says Cody is the real villain in this story. He says that Cody doesn't give a shit about you. He doesn't care about anybody but himself. He says that the real Cody is a liar and a user and an abuser. And he says that he wanted to make MJF his puppet and that he didn't want to take him under his wing, but hold him under his thumb. And then he says that he is now the new face of AEW. And he says he knows that Cody knows that he is better than him, and Cody knows it. So then he starts gabbing with Jericho. And he says, a little birdie told me that you would like me in the inner circle. And then Jericho says, well, that's funny because a little birdie told me you would like to join the inner circle. And then they go back and forth on this. It was kind of a really who's on first type of thing. Neither of them want to relent. So MJF is like, I heard you want me to join. And then Jericho says, I heard you want to join. And then he goes back, MJF again, I heard you want me to join. I heard you want to join. I heard you want me to join. I heard you want to join. And then they go back and forth. And then they have a moment where they're basically going to say, who's the biggest? They keep yelling at each other that they know who the biggest jackass in AEW is. And Jericho yells it back at him, and MJF yells it back at him. And then they have this pause. And you think they're going to come to blows. They both pick up their microphones and simultaneously say, Cody Rhodes is the biggest jackass. So, and then they hug in the ring, and then out comes Cody Rhodes. He's got the huge stitches over his eye from the nice hard way opening on the ramp that he took on at Full Gear. And then he comes down to the ring, starts taking them out, and then out of the crowd, a big guy comes into the ring in a suit and just takes down Cody Rhodes. It is Wardlow. So we have seen two, I believe, that's it, 2 vignettes of Wardlow. One at All Out, I believe. Possibly Double or Nothing. I can't remember which one. And then one on Dynamite a couple weeks ago. And then it looks like MJF is directing traffic here, or is directing Wardlow. Wardlow takes off his tie and ends up choking Cody Rhodes with it, and then the segment ends here. So, is MJF with the inner circle? Is he by himself? Is he in control of Wardlow? Looks like Wardlow is probably teamed up with MJF here because they did mention that he is wearing a very nice tie. I don't know what it was called, a Burberry tie or something like that. A really high-end tie, similar to like the high-end scarf that MJF likes. So it seems that MJF and Wardlow are going to be some sort of faction or something like that. There's what we have. Next up, we have Pac versus Hangman Page. So this is the rubber match, at least the AEW rubber match, if you include the one that they did in England, which I think last time I said was with Rev Pro, but I believe it was with WrestleGate, if that's correct. I think it was WrestleGate. Anyways, the match starts off really quickly. Page gets sent to the outside. Pac does a dive on him, and then he runs up the turnbuckle to do the moonsault to the floor that Page usually does. And hey, like I was talking about during the Full Gear review, Pac looks back to see if his target is still there. What a novel concept. And then later on, Page is on the outside, gives Pac a sidewalk slam onto the apron, and then he does his moonsault, goes up to the top turnbuckle. He does not look back, and he just does the moonsault. He does not make sure that Pac is even there. He does the moonsault, and of course he hits Pac. But, again, Pac just did this perfectly. He went up to the top rope, he looked behind him to make sure his target was still there, and then did the moonsault. Adam Page just climbs to the top rope and does the moonsault without even looking. Gotta look back. Because it makes no person in their right mind would not check to see where they're going. Just please look back. That's all I'm asking. All right, and then later they have a yay boo striking exchange. Page goes for a buckshot lariat, but Pac ends up hitting him with a super kick. Page hits a discus elbow. Pac hits a snap German. Page flips out of a second German suplex, hits a discus lariat. Nice sequence right there, kind of quick back and forth, hitting each other with big moves. Then they do another callback to the previous finishes that they They run towards the ref, so the ref kind of cowers in the corner. Pac attempts to do his back kick low blow, but Page blocks it. But the difference here is that Pac then turns around. So Page is holding his foot, and Pac does like an enziguri high kick, gets a 2 count. Page then hits a desperation super kick, and Pac falls out of the ring, and he goes to sit down in the chair. Just like at Full Gear, he pops right up, so he was not completely out of it. Pops right up. He goes to give Page a brain buster like at Full Gear, but Page ends up giving Pac a brain buster on the floor. He rolls Pac into the ring. Page hits a buckshot lariat for a 2 count, and then Pac kind of rolls over to the corner. He's kind of like faking being hurt. So the ref is trying to keep Page back. He wants to check on Pac to make sure he can continue. Of course, Pac is just buying time that he's all right. He jumps up. He was faking. And then Pac attacks. And then he stomps on Page's head a bunch of times. Page is pretty much like knocked out at this point. He does some more stomps. Commentary is saying that the ref could disqualify him. I'm not sure for what. I didn't know that kicking too much ass was a disqualification. If this was the case, why didn't the ref just call for the bell and call it as a knockout win? I mean, I would like to see ref stoppage because of knockout or ref stoppage in general as a legitimate finish to a match in AEW. So you can add a few more wrinkles and other types of finishes that you can do. Because once you can go to referee stoppage, then that opens up a whole new world of finishes that you can legitimately use to legitimately win a match instead of just pinfall or submission for like a title change or something like that. As being a legit finish. Whereas if you knock somebody out, or you could do ground and pound and be beating on them, they can't protect themselves, and the ref just stops it and calls it off. That would be a great addition to a legit finish of a match. I'd really like to see them do that. Anyways, after doing these stomps and they're saying he might disqualify him, again, don't know why, Pac goes up to the top rope, hits Black Arrow, puts on the Brutalizer, and the ref then immediately calls for the stoppage. So this is technically a submission win, I guess, but it was referee stoppage, so it's kind of like in the middle of the two because but yeah, use referee stoppage. There's no downside to adding another legit finish to a match. Gives you more options, gives you more legit options, and can make matches pretty exciting. If somebody, just lands a punch or lands a kick and the guy's knocked out, you could have a very, out of nowhere finish, just like in real sports. Just adds a whole nother level of excitement to a match and keeps every moment more important because it can end at any second. And I think that's something that wrestling has been missing for a while. Not thinking that a match can end at any second. Obviously, sometimes with roll-ups, that kind of ends at quote-unquote any second. But if somebody could just, hit a move, get a strike, a legal strike, of course, and knock a guy out, I would say, great. You can end a match that way, and it can end at any moment. Good option. So anyways, Pac has won the rubber match here. And the new rankings have come out, and Pac is currently number 1 in the rankings. I am not sure why they had this match, because they were sitting at 1-1 with each other. They could have left that there. Or you can consider this 2-2 or 2-1 in Pac's favor, depending on how you want to look at this. Hopefully this does not lead to more 50-50 booking, and it's just, going to be these two right now. But I think this hurts Page more than it helps Pac. I don't know what their plans are for Page in the near future. But I don't think you want to make him weaker. So hopefully whatever his program is going to be after Pac, that Page can kind of get some of his shine back. Because Page is going to be a big player in AEW in the coming years. And I don't think you want to take too much of the shine off of him at this point, especially because you're probably going to be calling on him to be, one of the top guys in the top of the division within the next year, maybe two. Probably definitely within the next 2 years. And it could be even sooner than that. So you don't want to wipe too much of the shine off of this guy just yet. But if you can tell a compelling story, I don't care. That's fine. You can. There's always ways to get out of it. It just has to be compelling, and we can forgive a lot of this. I believe they've also mentioned that they might be resetting the record, people's records each year in January, which will be fine because obviously we cannot be running a running tally and doing it in kind of seasons. Even if they want to do it every 6 months, I'd be okay with that. Do it in January, do it in July. Cool. I'd be perfectly fine with that. I would think that they would normally do this at All Out. That's kind of their end of their season. If All Out is kind of going to be their kind of like WrestleMania event. But that I from the beginning I thought that they need to at least somehow refresh records, or only care about the last 6 months. Have like a record of just the last 6 months or the last year, not the running total forever. But if they just want to reset everybody's record at a certain time every single year, good, works perfectly. Then you don't have this problem of the running records of somebody having 105 losses and 302 wins or whatever. Because definitely, I think even over time, more people are going to end up more in the 50-50 range. This is just how it works, because you want to keep everybody strong at different times. Some people are going to have losing years, some are going to have winning years, and it's probably going to average out close to 50-50 most of the time. Reset the records every year, every 6 months, and then we're good. And using the rankings that they're kind of doing, this person beat that person, even though that they have a slightly different record, or this person actually has a better record, but since they beat them, they're a little above them. That's fine. I think how they're doing the rankings so far is fine. I agree with what the rankings are right now. If you want to go check them out, I believe they're over on the Twitter feed. Anyways, man, I'm getting into some rambles on here. After the match, they cut to backstage, and the Young Bucks and Proud and Powerful, Santana and Ortiz, I hate that name, are brawling in the back. Security and refs are trying to break it up. Matt power slams Ortiz through a table, and then Santana does a dive off of a forklift. Nick and Santana are fighting, and Santana throws Nick into a door, and it opens up to a bathroom, and Orange Cassidy is just standing there inside the bathroom with his hands in his pockets, just leaning against the wall. Santana has a great little bit of comedy right here. He was looking, he looks at Orange Cassidy, he looks away from Orange Cassidy, then he looks back, and he slowly grabs the door handle and slowly pulls the door closed. So it's just really funny. He's like, what the heck is wrong with this guy? And he's just I don't want any part of this guy. And he just closes the door. But right as he closes the door, Matt and Nick hit a super kick, double super kick on him. They end up brawling out into the arena. Ortiz hits Matt with a mop, and then throws Matt over the barricade onto the floor by the ring. Security tries to break it all up, but Matt has climbed up onto the apron and then dives off the apron onto Ortiz. Ortiz is yelling, "We are the best." The crowd, the security is breaking him up. The crowd chants, "Let them fight." Then they're split up. Bucks are at the top of the ramp. Ortiz and Santana are at the bottom of the ramp by the ring. And then the Young Bucks give 3 security guys super kicks, run down, they brawl some more. Eventually, Ortiz hits Matt in the stomach with a sock full of whatever. They've been saying they're baseballs. Okay. Anyways, he hits him with Matt doubles over. Then they tangle up Nick's leg, which he had injured by kicking the ring post at Full Gear. They tie up his leg in the scaffolding and start hammering it with the sock to damage it some more. Then they go back over to Matt. Santana spray paints a circle on the same part of the stage, that stage extension that they put Ricky Morton through. I don't know if it was last week or the week before. All these shows are running together. Anyways, when they put Ricky Morton through it, same spot, he puts a circle there. They go back, and then they give Matt the power bomb through the stage in the same spot. And then they go back over to Nick. They set up to do the same thing, but Brandon Cutler comes out to make a save. So Brandon Cutler comes out and stops him, and then Ortiz and Santana start walking away. And then Santana turns around and says, "Hey, Brandon, guess what? We lie." And they came back and started attacking Brandon Cutler as well. And then they leave Nick and Brandon laying, and Ortiz yells out, "We're the best." And then Private Party comes out to help out, makes the save, breaks up the whole thing. Both of the Young Bucks are helped out by refs. Matt is holding his back for those who haven't been paying attention, the last year in New Japan, Matt was really selling his back a lot of matches, so he quote unquote has a back problem. I don't know if it's a legit back problem, but anyways, he sells his back quite a lot as being an injury. So here they targeted that, and of course Nick is limping because he kicked the post at Full Gear. They hit his leg some more with the sock with baseballs or whatever. And so they've targeted known injuries on the Young Bucks. So they leave, and then they announce that it's going to be Private Party and Proud and Powerful next week on Dynamite. Some people have said, well, that was quick for them to make this match. But of course you could go with, well, this match was already set up. It hadn't been announced yet, but Private Party knew that they were going to be facing Proud and Powerful, and that's why they came out to help the Young Bucks, or really, they're friends with the Young Bucks, so they came out to help. That could be it too, but explaining why it was so fast with them announcing this match, it could just be simply this match was already, quote unquote, booked. It just wasn't announced yet. Private Party knew, or it had already been set up, and this just happened to be, they happened to come out to make the save, and that match was already going to happen. I don't have a problem with it. Some people's like, wow, they announced that match like 20 seconds after they were brawling together, and it's like, well, the match could have already been set up ahead of time, and they're just announcing it now because it happened to present itself as being a convenient place to put it. Works for me, perfectly fine. We are going into the final match of the evening. Again, they did not announce or did not have the announcers go through next week's card or what is going to be on AEW Dark on Tuesday. This is the spot to do it. Just stick it right here. 20 seconds for Dark, 20 seconds for next week's Dynamite. Get people to want to come back. Tell them what they're going to see next week. Because if you don't, they aren't going to know. And they're not following social media to find out, to know, to tune in on Wednesday. If you tell them now that next week, hey, you're going to see Jon Moxley versus Brandon Cutler. I don't know. Private Party. And then we already know two matches. We know Jon Moxley versus Darby Allin. We know that match. Private Party versus Proud and Powerful. We know that match. And then whatever other matches are happening, just announce them here, and then announce what is going to be on Dark. I know, because I'm telling you now, and I've seen it online, that it's going to be Young Bucks match, but I forget who they're facing. But Young Bucks will be on AEW Dark. They don't mention it. They didn't mention that the Young Bucks are going to be on AEW Dark on Tuesday. Just mention it. That's it. Just throw up a card, 10 seconds, Young Bucks versus blah, 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 blah on Dark. I said that in 3 seconds? Just do it. Get people watching AEW Dark. I say every time I'm on here, watch AEW Dark because there's good matches. Last week was but the press, I mean, there was Joey Janela versus Kenny Omega in an unsanctioned match. That was amazing. Nothing. They didn't mention it on TV. They didn't mention that it was going to happen on AEW Dark. I don't know why. Just mention it. I feel like I'm a broken record saying this over and over again. Hopefully people aren't tuning out when I say that stuff. All right. Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara versus Scorpio Sky and Frankie Kazarian for the tag titles. Chris Jericho wanted this match because he realized that him and Sammy Guevara as a tag team were undefeated. And he felt that he deserved, or they deserved, a shot at the tag titles. So, Christopher Daniels came out with SCU. They did their I Hate This Town shtick. They cut a promo during the commercial break, or what I believe was probably a commercial break. Jake Hager comes down with Jericho. Something I really liked, nice little detail here. They said that the match had a 60-minute time limit, and if it went past the end of TV time, that they would put the ending of the match on YouTube. I really like this because even if it's on TV, championship matches matter, and they're not going to shortchange a championship match on time. Excellent. Perfect. I have no problem with this at all. They are laying it in now that championship matches, regardless of where and when they take place, are going to be 60 minutes, even if we don't have that much time left on TV. And if it goes past TV, we will put it up on YouTube so you can see it. Excellent. Great. I'm on board. This also, prevents the challengers from being shortchanged on a short time limit, because obviously if it goes to a time limit draw, the champions keep their titles. So obviously if you, are facing the tag team champions and there's only 8 minutes left in TV, well, you don't want to get screwed out of not getting those titles because there's only 8 minutes left, where everybody else, if it was on a pay-per-view, would get 60 minutes. But they said, nope, it's going to be 60 minutes. And if TV time runs out, going on YouTube. Wonderful. They mentioned that Kaz and Jericho, when they're in the ring together, just the two of them, between the two of them, there's 50 years of experience. Kaz has been wrestling for 21 years, Jericho for 29 years, and they have never met in the ring before. So that was pretty interesting. Perfectly fine beginning with the two of them. And then Jericho ends up eating a drop kick. He quickly crawls over to the corner, but it's SCU's corners. He looks up and realizes, oh, that's Scorpio Sky. Oh crap. So he makes like this like horrible little like roll somersault crawl back over to Sammy, and he like hugs the bottom turnbuckle like, oh, thank you for saving me. Sammy tags in. It was pretty funny. Jericho is at the top of his game. He is doing so good in this phase of his career. He's having good matches. The matches have been fine. None of them have been like horrible or anything. They've all been good. And his character work has been excellent. Everybody should be watching Chris Jericho in this phase of his career. And then this is what you should be doing as a character, because he is doing amazing. At one point, Sammy gets a little bit over-rotated on a suplex. He lands right on the top of his head. That was the first thing that hit the ground, was the top of his head. It looked horrible, but I don't know whose fault it was. I'm not sure if Sammy was supposed to backflip out of it, or he just put a little too much spring in throwing himself back and ended up over-rotating. I don't know. Sammy and Jericho have a hilarious pose. Sammy is just kind of gloating. He lays down and does a pose, and so Jericho runs in and poses with him. It was really, really funny. Sammy ends up hitting a standing Spanish fly, but he misses a shooting star press and lands on his leg. So he kind of lands sort of sideways, lands on his leg, so he's kind of selling his leg a little bit. Scorpio Sky ends up getting a hot tag and takes out Sammy with a bunch of strikes and a drop kick. Hits an Alabama slam and then a neck breaker. Commentary calls Sammy Guevara, Sammy G, a couple times. I think it's pretty funny. I'm not sure if they're taking out a shot at Chad Gable being called Shorty G, or if it just happened to be a coincidence. Either way, I thought it was funny because at least I made that leap. Sky hits a massive DDT on Sammy. Kaz comes in to do the SCU later, but Hager ends up pulling him out of the ring and lays him out. JR says that he was pulled out by Swagger. I mean, Hager, he's got swagger, but he's not Swagger. I thought that was pretty funny because, he was Jack Swagger for such a long time. I can forgive JR for when he's called somebody a different name for such a long time. And now it's a different name, so he's got to call him something different. And he's just kind of like in the middle of the match. But, I thought it was funny. He said he's pulled out by Swagger. Hager, he's got swagger, but he's not Swagger. That was pretty funny. Then Christopher Daniels runs through the ring and does a dive onto Hager, but Hager catches him. It was kind of a clumsy catch. He kind of dropped him a little bit, but they recovered real quickly, and Hager throws him into the barricade. Sky gets a ton of offense in on Jericho, but then Jericho hits a code breaker for a 2 count. Jericho gets up to pick up Sky for a suplex, but Scorpio Sky rolls up Chris Jericho and picks up the 3 count. Jericho is incensed. He is losing it. He runs out of the ring and starts throwing chairs into the ring and around. He throws and tips over the timekeeper's table where they keep the bell and everything. He picks up a piece of barricade and throws it. He grabs a chair and he starts hitting it on the barricade and then hitting it on the ring post. And that is how they go off air. Jericho just going nuts at the end, being so mad that is his first loss, and he took the fall. You would think going into this, Sammy was definitely going to be the one eating the pinfall, but no, they pinned Chris Jericho. Some people are like, "What? Why did they do this? Why didn't they just pin Sammy Guevara? Why did they have to pin the champion?" Well, a few different theories have been tossed, but my favorite is or not theories, but explanations. My favorite is that, well, it makes sense. Jericho is a singles title. Scorpio Sky is a tag title holder. You would think in a tag match that the tag title holder would have the advantage over a singles competitor in a tag match. So I have no problem with the tag champion pinning a singles champion in a tag match. If this was the tag champion in a singles match with the singles champion, I would usually expect the singles champion to pin the tag champion if they are in a one-on-one if they are on a one-on-one match. That would make the most sense. I also don't have a problem with this being a roll-up pin because Scorpio Sky has now beat Lucha Bros and Chris Jericho with a roll-up pin. For those who were not watching, this fall in New Japan, Yo from Roppongi 3K rolled up Tama Tonga a couple times in multi-man matches, in like 3-on-3 matches. He rolled Tama Tonga up a couple times, and then when they challenged, Yo and Sho challenged Tama Tonga and Tongaloa for the IWGP Tag Championship. When Yo went for a roll-up, the crowd went nuts because now they have been working this in that Yo can roll up Tama Tonga and get a pin. So now, if they're, which I assume is probably going to head down this road, there's going to be a one-on-one with Chris Jericho and Scorpio Sky. Scorpio Sky has established at this point that his roll-up pin is a dangerous one to his opponent. So now, if they have a one-on-one match, Jericho versus Scorpio Sky, anytime Scorpio Sky gets a roll-up pin, it is going to be the most important pin of the match. Not that he's going to get the 3 count, but if he gets him into a roll-up, even on a 2 count, it is going to be one of the hottest near falls in the match. So they are now building this as Scorpio Sky has this ability to pin people with a roll-up. And that is important. There is no reason I don't see this as a bad thing at all. It definitely worked for Yo and Show, or for Yo pinning Tama Tonga. I was there in the building when Yo and Show faced Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. The crowd was so into every near fall that came out of Yo rolling up Tama Tonga. It was insane. Everybody was on the edge of their seats. We all thought they might actually change the tag titles on what was essentially a house show. But that is how well they built up Yo's ability to pin Tama Tonga with a roll-up. And it was hot as hell, even for like 4 or 5 roll-up near falls. It was amazing, and there's no reason this roll-up pinfall by Scorpio Sky to Chris Jericho can't be the same way if they have a match in the future, a one-on-one. I don't expect Scorpio Sky to win that match if they have it relatively soon from now, but every time he's going to roll up Jericho a couple times in the match, and the crowd is going to be hot as hell for that near fall. I almost guarantee it. I'll go for it. I guarantee that if he rolls up Chris Jericho, the crowd is going to be hot for that near fall. Also, JR was still a little bitchy, crotchety, whatever you want to call it. But he just wants to see logical wrestling, and he is not being produced to gloss over these things. He does not have Tony Khan screaming in his ears trying to, get out this corporate speak or whatever. JR is going to call it like it is, and I think that's what they're paying him for. And he should announce every day when, before the show, he tells the talent, hey, if you do something stupid, I'm going to call you out for it. So if they don't want to be called out by JR on national TV, they should stop doing stupid things. And a lot of the stupid things have definitely started coming down in number. I hope they take the last little bit that they need to do. I've already gone at length on Hangman Page's moonsault. Even JR said he shouldn't be doing this high-flying stuff. He should be using his power because he's a big guy, especially against Pac. He's much bigger than Pac. He should be using his power, not this flippy-do stuff. And I agree with that. And I am fine with JR calling that out because I think it is stupid for Hangman to do that stuff. If he wants to call out the ref for not making an attempt to get the illegal man out of the ring, wonderful. I am 100% on board for that. If he wants to call out the ref for not making an effort to get guys back into the ring who are just fighting on the outside, excellent. 100% behind that. Perfect. Because I want to see that stuff happen. And obviously JR does. JR is going to call this out. And if you don't want to hear him call you out on national television, stop doing it. The ref doesn't have to get them back into the middle of the ring, but he has to make an effort. He doesn't have to get the illegal man out of the ring, but they have to make an effort. That's really it. You got to make the effort. If you're a ref, you got to try to enforce the rules. Make it look like you're trying to enforce the rules, even if the wrestlers are ignoring you or are not following the rules. At least make an effort to enforce it. Get there with the guys, yelling at them to get into the ring, do what you can. You don't need to stop the match or anything. You don't need to get in the middle of the two combatants, but make your presence known that you're trying to get this match back on track where it's supposed to be. That's it. Just don't ignore it and let it go. Because that's something that really pulls me out of matches when refs have no power to do anything. It bugs the crap out of me. At least in AEW, they've added that it's a 10 count to get the illegal man out of the ring instead of a 5 count. So at least gives them that leeway, because obviously the tag matches in AEW are a little more chaotic. There's a little more double teaming and stuff like that. So if they get the 10 count, which is more really like almost 30 seconds because the count is so damn slow, perfectly fine. I am 100% on board with that. If they want to make it a longer count, they've established that. That's a 10 count. Good. Just the ref has to at least try to utilize the 10 count and get the illegal man out of the ring from doing illegal stuff. That's it. And then tag teams just need to work a little bit better to pull the ref if you need more time to do something illegal. Just pull the ref. Obviously, it's been an issue with Lucha Bros doing some illegal double teams and whatnot in front of the ref. They did do a little bit better during the 3-way at Full Gear. They did pull the ref a little bit more. Good. Perfect. That's what I want to see. Just don't make the refs look like chumps, and I'm good. Also, during this episode, one of the improvements that they made, there were a lot more promos during this episode, but they weren't long, and they got to the point. They weren't long, rambling promos that had nothing to do with anything. We had Kenny Omega as a quick, really 1 minute 30 with him and the doctor. Perfect. You had Darby Allin talking. He just got on the mic, said 4 words, walked off. Perfect. You had Moxley cut a relatively short promo, probably less than 2 minutes. He was in and then he was out. He got across what he needed to get across. 2 minutes, perfect. No 20-minute Babylons. Dark Order, I think the promo took, a minute? Excellent. Jericho MJF, that was a much longer promo, but it was entertaining and had substance. And I don't know how long it was. Maybe 10. It was between 5 and 10 minutes, but it wasn't super long. So I'd say it was probably 6-7 minutes. SCU had a really short promo at the beginning of the match. Cool. So we actually had a decent number of acts speaking during this episode. I was very happy with it. I think this was probably the smoothest episode that they have done. It flew by. And there weren't any major sore thumbs that stood out to me. I didn't really have any problems with stuff that happened on this show. So I was very happy with what was going on. All right. So there we go. Thanks for listening to my review of AEW Dynamite for November 13th, 2019. If you'd like to get a hold of me, you can shoot me an email, eric@thatswrestling.com. You can also find me on Twitter, That's Wrestling 1. I am searching for a co-host for this show. If you'd like to be a co-host for AEW, co-host for New Japan, both once in a while for one of them, shoot me an email, eric@thatswrestling.com. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can get this as a podcast on all your favorite podcast apps. If you can't find it on your podcast app, be sure to send me an email so I can get submitted to that app. Or you can just head over to thatswrestling.com and grab the RSS feed address over there and paste it into your favorite podcast app of choice. So until then, I will probably be watching a little bit of New Japan. The World Tag League had started this morning, so I have to watch that and also watch the important matches that happened in the US over last weekend, and I'll come back with you sometime in the next couple days to talk about that. And then again, we have the best nights Tuesday and Wednesday for wrestling. Looking forward to them. every week so far. I've been very happy, and it's a good time to be a wrestling fan once again. So thanks for listening or watching, and I will see you next time on That's Wrestling. See you later, guys.